The gym was buzzing with the usual afternoon crowd. The faint clanking of weights, the rhythmic thump of jump ropes on the floor, and the occasional shout from a trainer created a symphony of discipline and effort. Amid all this, one man moved with a calm intensity that made the chaos around him seem distant: Bruce Lee. His movements were precise, almost fluid, as if the weights were an extension of his own body. Each repetition was measured, controlled, yet effortless. Muscles flexed and released with perfect timing. Sweat glistened on his forehead, but there was no sign of struggle, no hint of exhaustion. Every eye in the room followed him, drawn by the quiet magnetism of someone who clearly mastered more than just technique. Across the gym, a massive bodybuilder stopped mid-lift. He was all brawn, arms like tree trunks, shoulders wide and imposing. He laughed, a deep, booming sound that echoed off the walls. "That's impossible," he shouted, motioning at Bruce. "Nobody can do 50 reps like that. You're kidding yourself." Bruce didn't flinch. His gaze was calm, almost serene. He set down the weights he was holding, straightened his posture, and looked at the man. There was no anger, no irritation, only quiet focus. "Strength," Bruce said softly, "isn't just about muscle. It's about control, patience, and knowing your limits." The bodybuilder scoffed and flexed. "Control? Limits? Watch me, then. Bet you can't even match me on a single rep, let alone 50. His confidence was loud, almost blinding. He flexed again, showing off years of sheer training and power, expecting everyone in the room to be impressed. But the crowd remained silent, sensing that the real test was not about size or noise, but something far deeper. A small group began to gather, circling Bruce like a protective ring, phones out, ready to capture what was about to happen. The tension in the gym shifted. Curiosity replaced chatter, and anticipation replaced casual observation. Everyone could feel it. A showdown was about to unfold. Bruce Lee's expression didn't change. His focus remained inward. He picked up the weights again, shoulders squared, chest lifted. With a calm breath, he began his set. The world around him seemed to fade. Time slowed. The first repetition was executed with perfect form, smooth and precise. And in that moment, every person in the room realized, this wasn't just training. This was mastery in motion. It was a bright, busy afternoon at the martial arts gym. Sunlight streamed through the tall windows, casting long shadows across the polished wooden floors. The scent of sweat mixed with the faint aroma of liniment oil, a familiar combination that spoke of hard work, discipline, and the pursuit of mastery. Trainers barked instructions, weights clanged, and jump ropes whizzed through the air in rhythmic patterns. Every corner of the gym buzzed with energy, yet in the center, all eyes were drawn to a single figure moving with effortless precision: Bruce Lee. He was dressed in simple training clothes, a plain black t-shirt that clung to his lean frame, and dark pants that allowed every movement to flow naturally. His shoes made no sound on the floor. His focus was absolute, as if the chaos of the gym didn't exist. He lifted a set of dumbbells, each repetition smooth and measured, muscles flexing and releasing in perfect harmony. Sweat ran down his temple, but there was no hint of strain in his movements. To the untrained eye, it almost looked effortless. To those who knew martial arts, it was perfection. Across the room, a massive figure loomed. A bodybuilder, towering, broad, and visibly proud of his size, stopped mid-lift. His biceps were like coiled steel, his chest a wall of muscle. He squinted at Bruce, disbelief etched on his face. He shook his head, the veins in his neck pulsing. "That's impossible," he barked, his voice booming over the hum of the gym. "Nobody can do 50 reps like that. You're kidding yourself, man." Bruce didn't react immediately. He finished his current set, lowering the dumbbells with controlled precision, and took a deep breath. Then he looked at the bodybuilder with calm intensity. "Strength," he said quietly, "isn't about muscle alone. It's about control, discipline, focus, and knowing your limits." The bodybuilder laughed, a harsh, brash sound that seemed to shake the gym. "Control? Limits?" he sneered. "You think I need that? Look at me." He flexed, turning slowly, showing off years of brute strength and countless hours in the gym. "Bet you can't even match me for one rep, let alone 50. A hush fell over the spectators. Word had spread quickly among the gym-goers. Something unusual was happening. A circle formed around Bruce, phones raised to capture every moment. Trainers whispered to each other. Even the casual visitors sensed it. This was not just a challenge. This was going to be a lesson in real mastery. Bruce remained calm. His body was relaxed but ready, his breathing steady. He bent slightly, centering himself, and picked up the barbell again. The room seemed to hold its breath. Every eye was locked on him. The bodybuilder flexed one last time, smirking, convinced victory was inevitable. Then Bruce began. The first rep was executed flawlessly, smooth and precise, each motion flowing naturally into the next. The gym fell silent except for the soft clank of the weights. Every rep showed not just physical strength, but coordination, control, and mastery of the body. The bodybuilder's grin faltered slightly as he watched Bruce move, realizing that raw power alone was not enough to match skill. A small murmur of awe spread through the spectators. Someone whispered, "Look at his form, it's perfect." Another held their phone higher, determined to capture the moment. Bruce didn't stop. He didn't glance at the bodybuilder or react to the whispers. He was entirely in the zone, every motion deliberate, controlled, and elegant. If you're already amazed by Bruce's skill, go ahead and hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. You won't want to miss what happens next. The challenge is only just beginning. Minutes felt like seconds as Bruce moved through his repetitions. The bodybuilder's confidence started to waver. He crossed his arms, watching, trying to read the expression on Bruce's face. But there was nothing, only calm, unwavering focus. The spectators leaned in, some whispering, others holding their breath. Everyone knew they were witnessing something extraordinary. By the time Bruce finished the 20th rep, the room was buzzing with quiet disbelief. The bodybuilder's smirk had disappeared entirely, replaced by a flicker of doubt. The lesson was already clear. Strength without control, no matter how impressive it looks, could never surpass mastery combined with discipline. Bruce paused briefly, adjusting his grip, breathing steady, sweat glistening on his forehead. His eyes scanned the room, but there was no arrogance, no need to prove anything. He was not there to impress. He was there to demonstrate the power of discipline and focus, silently, through action. The stage was set. The audience was ready. And in just a few moments, Bruce Lee would show them what true mastery really looked like, completing the feat that the bodybuilder had claimed was impossible. The tension in the gym had reached a tangible intensity. Every person in the room seemed to hold their breath, caught between disbelief and anticipation. The bodybuilder, arms like steel cables, leaned forward, his chest rising and falling with heavy breaths. He was sure of himself, sure of his strength, sure that the lean man in front of him could not possibly match the feat he demanded. 50 flawless repetitions. Bruce Lee adjusted his stance, his feet rooted to the polished floor, body aligned like a perfectly tuned machine. He picked up the dumbbells again, each one a challenge, a test, a proving ground not for others, but for himself. The first repetition was slow, deliberate, each movement a demonstration of both strength and control. The muscles in his arms flexed and released with fluid perfection, his core engaged, every fiber of his body working in harmony. The bodybuilder scoffed, pacing slightly, arms crossed. "Huh. That's nothing," he muttered to himself. "I've seen rookies do better than that." Yet, as Bruce moved through the second and third reps, the bodybuilder's confidence began to falter. There was no strain on Bruce's face, no hesitation in his form, no wobble in his grip. It was as if he were dancing with the weights, rather than lifting them. Around them, the spectators couldn't contain themselves. Some whispered in awe, others filmed every motion. A few trainers exchanged knowing glances, silently impressed. One young student muttered, "I've trained for months, and I can't even hold that form for 10 reps. Another nodded in agreement, eyes wide, as Bruce continued his set. By the 10th repetition, the bodybuilder's smirk was gone. He was beginning to realize something unsettling. This was not about size, brute force, or intimidation. This was about mastery, control, and absolute focus. He had underestimated Bruce Lee, not just his strength, but his discipline. Bruce's breathing remained steady, his expression calm, almost serene. Sweat ran down his temples, but his movements didn't falter. Each rep was precise, controlled, deliberate. The weights moved smoothly, rising and falling in perfect symmetry. With every repetition, the tension in the room grew. The gym felt electrified, as if the air itself had thickened with awe and disbelief. Someone whispered, He's going to do all 50. The words rippled through the room like a wave, spreading anticipation, disbelief, and admiration simultaneously. Every eye was glued to Bruce, every heart beating faster, every mind trying to comprehend what it meant to move with such mastery. By the 20th rep, the bodybuilder's confidence had crumbled entirely. His arms, once like iron pillars, now hung at his sides, useless against the lesson unfolding before him. His jaw tightened, and he clenched his fists, trying to mask the shock building inside. Around him, the crowd erupted in quiet murmurs, every whisper a testament to Bruce's unmatched skill. Bruce didn't pause. His focus was unwavering, as if the room had vanished and there was only the movement, the weight, and his own discipline. The 21st repetition flowed seamlessly into the 22nd, and the 23rd into the 24th. Every repetition was identical to the first, perfect form, smooth motion, unshakable focus. The spectators were in awe. Some held their phones higher, trying to capture the impossible, while others simply watched, mouths agape. Even the most seasoned trainers exchanged looks of disbelief. No one had seen strength demonstrated like this before, not raw power, not flashy form, but controlled, precise mastery that made every rep look effortless yet extraordinary. The bodybuilder finally spoke, his voice low, almost a whisper. I didn't think it was possible. His arrogance had faded completely, replaced by a grudging respect he hadn't expected to feel. Bruce continued, unaffected, completely immersed in his own rhythm, demonstrating that true mastery isn't loud, flashy, or boastful. It's silent, powerful, and undeniable. And in that moment, everyone in the gym understood the truth. Strength is more than muscle. Strength is discipline. Strength is focus. And above all, strength is control. The gym had fallen into a heavy, almost sacred silence. Even the clanging of weights seemed to pause, as if the entire space were holding its breath in reverence for what it was witnessing. Bruce Lee, calm and focused, continued his set. Each repetition was smooth, precise, and seemingly effortless, yet it carried a weight of sheer mastery that left everyone in awe. The crowd watched, frozen between disbelief and admiration, their eyes glued to every subtle movement. The bodybuilder, towering and muscular, had stopped pacing. His arms, once flexed in intimidation, now hung at his sides. His chest rose and fell rapidly, a mix of exertion and astonishment. He could hardly believe what he was seeing. Every rep Bruce completed chipped away at the arrogance he had carried in. Each repetition was a silent lesson, a demonstration of discipline, control, and focus that brute strength alone could never teach. Around them, spectators whispered. Phones were raised high, recording every motion. A trainer leaned on the wall, shaking his head in disbelief. "I've been in this gym 20 years, he murmured to a colleague. "I've never seen anyone move like that. Look at his form. Every repetition perfect." Another student, barely able to contain excitement, whispered to his friend, "This isn't strength, this is mastery. Pure mastery." Bruce's face remained calm, almost serene. He didn't glance at the bodybuilder, didn't react to the whispers, the stares, or the awe-filled murmurs of the crowd. His eyes were focused inward, on each motion, on each breath, on every muscle and fiber working in harmony. There was no showmanship, no arrogance, only control. The silent power radiating from him was almost tangible, and it demanded respect. By the 30th repetition, even the skeptics were whispering to each other in disbelief. He's actually doing it," one murmured. "All 50 reps, flawless." Another added, "I can't even hold that form for 10 reps. Phones recorded, people gasped, and even the bodybuilder's confidence had faded entirely. He clenched his jaw, realizing that raw size and brute strength meant nothing against focus, discipline, and mastery. Then came a subtle shift in the atmosphere. People stopped just watching, they started reacting emotionally. A few let out quiet gasps of amazement. Others nodded slowly, internalizing a lesson they hadn't expected to learn that day. The younger students looked on in awe, wide-eyed, silently promising themselves they would train harder, smarter, with more respect for the craft. Even some of the older, seasoned trainers felt humbled by the demonstration. An old trainer at the corner shook his head, murmuring, "I've never seen dedication like this, not in anyone. Not even the champions we talk about." Another whispered, "This is more than strength, it's philosophy in motion." The room was no longer just a gym. It had become a theater of discipline, a classroom where every repetition taught a lesson about control, focus, and humility. The bodybuilder, for the first time, stopped talking altogether. He could only watch, his arrogance replaced by silent respect. He understood now that his years of training, his size, his raw power, none of it meant anything if it wasn't guided by control and precision. He had challenged what he thought impossible, and found himself humbled. If you're amazed by Bruce's skill and focus, go ahead and hit that like button and subscribe for more incredible stories and lessons from legends like him. You won't want to miss what happens next, the moment when mastery meets the impossible. By the 45th repetition, every single person in the room was on the edge of their seat. Some leaned forward, holding their breath. Others murmured encouragement, as if silently cheering Bruce on. Phones shook in hands as they recorded every motion, capturing a display of human ability few had ever witnessed. Bruce's calm demeanor, the perfection of each repetition, the discipline radiating from every motion, it left an indelible impression. This wasn't just a physical demonstration, it was a lesson in mindset, humility, and the true meaning of strength. The spectators could feel it. They weren't just watching someone lift weights. They were witnessing mastery itself. And then, the final repetitions began. The room, silent for so long, seemed to pause entirely, the moment stretching into eternity. Every eye, every breath, every heartbeat was synchronized with Bruce's movements. The anticipation was palpable. Everyone understood. They were about to witness the impossible become reality. The room was electric. Every person in the gym was holding their breath, the air thick with anticipation. Bruce Lee, calm and collected, approached the final repetitions with the same focus that had carried him through the previous 49. The weight in his hands felt lighter than ever, not because of its actual mass, but because of the mastery he wielded over his own body. Every muscle worked in perfect harmony, every movement precise, controlled, and graceful. The bodybuilder, towering and imposing, could hardly believe his eyes. His confidence, once unshakable, had crumbled completely. He had challenged what he thought impossible, and now he was forced to confront the reality that his size and brute strength could never match true mastery. He stepped back, watching silently, almost ashamed, yet undeniably awed. As Bruce completed the 50th repetition, a hush fell over the entire gym. The weights clinked softly as he set them down, and for a moment, no one breathed. Then, slowly, the crowd erupted. Gasps, cheers, and applause filled the room. Phones flashed, capturing the moment that would be shared countless times online. The impossible had been done. 50 flawless reps, each one a testament to discipline, control, and focus. People in the gym were stunned into silence, then gradually began to murmur among themselves. "Did you see that?" one whispered. "All 50, perfectly." Another added, "I've trained for years, and I've never seen anyone move like that." Even the youngest students were wide-eyed, silently promising themselves they would never underestimate discipline again. The bodybuilder finally spoke, his voice low, almost a whisper. I didn't think it was possible," he admitted. There was no bravado in his tone, only humbled respect. "Teach me, please. I want to learn what I've been missing." Bruce Lee's calm smile didn't waver. He didn't need to say much, his actions had already taught the lesson. But he nodded slightly, acknowledging both the bodybuilder's humility and the truth that mastery was available to anyone willing to dedicate themselves fully. The spectators, still buzzing with energy, couldn't stop talking. Trainers exchanged amazed glances. Students whispered excitedly to each other. Phones recorded every second, ensuring the story of this incredible moment would live far beyond the gym's walls. Every person present felt the weight of what they had just witnessed. This was not just strength, it was discipline, focus, and the kind of mastery that few ever achieve. If you're inspired by this, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications. Share this story with a friend who needs a lesson in true strength, because discipline beats arrogance every time. Bruce didn't boast. He didn't flex or demand recognition. He simply wiped the sweat from his brow, his chest rising and falling in steady, controlled breaths. The lesson he had given was louder than words, and it resonated deeply with everyone in the room. Even the bodybuilder, now humbled, realized something vital. Strength without control is meaningless. Brute force alone can't teach respect, patience, or mastery. He had come to challenge, to mock, and perhaps to intimidate. But instead, he left with awe, a newfound understanding, and the desire to improve in ways he had never considered. As Bruce walked away from the weights, the gym erupted into cheers once more. Phones captured the last frame of this unforgettable scene. Cameras shook in hands. Some students even ran to tell their friends outside, eager to share what they had just witnessed. This moment wasn't just about the 50 reps. It was about the triumph of focus, control, and discipline over arrogance and doubt. The crowd, still buzzing, looked at each other in awe. They knew they had just seen something rare, a true demonstration of human potential. And for those watching at home, those who would see the video, the lesson was the same. Discipline and focus will always outshine raw strength. Comment below with "discipline" if you agree that mastery beats muscle every time. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. More incredible stories like this are coming your way. The gym was buzzing, yet there was a new kind of quiet energy in the air, one that came not from tension, but from awe. Bruce Lee stood calmly, breathing evenly, muscles relaxed but still radiating a quiet intensity that few could match. The weight of what had just been witnessed, 50 flawless repetitions, settled over the crowd. Every person in the room felt it. This was not just a physical accomplishment. It was a lesson in discipline, humility, and respect. The bodybuilder, once brimming with arrogance, now stood frozen. His chest heaved as he tried to collect himself, but the awe in his eyes was undeniable. He approached Bruce, his large hands hanging at his sides, no longer a show of intimidation but of respect. I underestimated you, he admitted quietly, his voice low and sincere. I thought strength was all about muscle, about showing off, but I was wrong. Please, teach me. Bruce gave a calm nod, acknowledging the man's humility. He didn't need to speak much. The lesson had been delivered through action. Discipline, focus, and mastery were louder than words, and they were lessons that could not be learned from arrogance alone. Around them, the gym-goers began reacting in different ways. Some were whispering in awe, exchanging glances that said, "I've never seen anything like this." Others were replaying the event on their phones, still unable to believe the fluid perfection of every repetition. Even seasoned trainers shook their heads, silently congratulating themselves for witnessing something extraordinary. The room felt transformed, as if the very energy had shifted from competition to reverence. Bruce turned to the crowd for a brief moment, letting his gaze meet theirs. There was no boastfulness, no challenge in his eyes. Only focus and calm authority, a reminder that true power was silent, controlled, and earned through mastery rather than intimidation. The bodybuilder, humbled, nodded once more, a silent acknowledgement of the lesson he had just received. The young students, who had been watching wide-eyed, began to whisper excitedly among themselves. "I have to train harder," one said. "It's not about being bigger, it's about being disciplined." Another added, "That's what mastery looks like. Not just strength. Not just size. Real control." The lesson Bruce had imparted was clear. Physical power without discipline was meaningless, and arrogance would never substitute for dedication. If you're inspired by Bruce's focus and discipline, hit the like button, subscribe, and share this video with a friend who needs a reminder that patience and mastery beat brute force every time. The bodybuilder stepped aside, finally allowing others to approach. He wasn't defeated, he was transformed. A humbling experience had shifted his perspective. Strength, he realized, was not about intimidation. It was about self-mastery, patience, and respect for the craft, and for oneself. Bruce Lee, meanwhile, wiped the sweat from his brow, a calm smile forming. The weights lay still, but the lesson echoed louder than any clatter could. Every person in the gym, from students to seasoned trainers, understood that this demonstration was more than a display of physical skill. It was a masterclass in philosophy, discipline, and humility. Some gym-goers approached Bruce to shake his hand, others bowed slightly in respect. The energy in the room was no longer about ego or competition. It was about learning, growing, and understanding the real meaning of strength. Bruce didn't demand recognition. He didn't seek applause. The respect of those who had witnessed mastery was reward enough. The bodybuilder, now humbled, turned to a group of younger trainees. "Learn from this," he said quietly, almost reverently. "This is what true strength looks like." It wasn't about mocking, competing, or intimidating anymore. It was about learning, respecting, and aspiring to be better. The crowd gradually dispersed, carrying the lesson with them. Every person who had witnessed the feat understood it would stay with them, a reminder that mastery was earned through focus, discipline, and respect, not size or power. And for those watching the story unfold online, the lesson would echo just as clearly. True strength is silent, deliberate, and disciplined. Type discipline in the comments if you agree that patience and control are true strength. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. More incredible stories and lessons are coming. The gym was quiet now, the echo of Bruce Lee's incredible display still hanging in the air. The weight racks, the floor mats, even the walls seemed to hum with the energy of what had just taken place. Everyone present, from the youngest trainee to the seasoned trainers, knew they had witnessed something extraordinary. Not just a feat of strength, but a lesson in mastery, discipline, and humility. Bruce Lee walked slowly toward the exit, every step measured, calm, and composed. He didn't boast. He didn't flex. There was no need. His actions had already spoken louder than any words could. Around him, the spectators whispered, exchanged glances, and even clapped softly. Some in admiration, some in awe, and some simply in recognition that they had been part of a moment that would stay with them forever. The bodybuilder, once arrogant and full of bravado, now stood quietly, his chest heaving slightly, a humbled respect in his eyes. He approached Bruce once more, his tone sincere and quiet. "I've trained for years. I thought strength was measured by size and power. But today, you've shown me that mastery is so much more than that. Thank you for teaching me the truth." Bruce nodded slightly, a small smile playing on his lips. Strength is not in the size of your muscles or the force you can exert. True strength comes from discipline, control, and respect, for yourself, your craft, and others. Never forget that. The young students, who had been watching wide-eyed throughout the demonstration, began to murmur among themselves. "I need to train smarter, not just harder," one said. Another added, "I'll remember this every time I think I can take shortcuts." Mastery takes patience. And in that moment, the lesson extended beyond the gym, beyond the bodybuilder, beyond Bruce himself. It became a universal truth. The path to true strength is paved with focus, humility, and consistent effort. If you're feeling inspired, go ahead and like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell. These lessons are just the beginning, and there's so much more coming your way. Bruce stepped outside, the sunlight hitting his face as he took a deep breath. The chaos and noise of the gym now seemed distant. Inside, he had left behind a lesson that no one would forget. Discipline and control had proven their power once again, not just to those who watched, but to everyone who would hear the story and learn from it. The bodybuilder lingered for a moment, watching Bruce leave. He realized that the arrogance and impatience that had once defined him now seemed insignificant. The real challenge in life, he understood, was not to dominate others, but to master oneself. To respect your limits, push beyond them with discipline, and maintain humility in both success and failure. Even the trainers and long-time gym-goers were silent, reflecting on what they had witnessed. Some whispered to each other, sharing observations and insights. "It's not just strength," one said quietly. "It's mindset, focus, discipline. Everything else follows from that." Another nodded. "And humility. Don't ever forget that. Mastery demands respect for the process, for your body, and for those around you." Type discipline in the comments if you agree that focus, patience, and respect are the true measures of strength. Share where you're watching from. I'd love to thank every one of you personally. The lesson of the day was clear. Arrogance and raw power are temporary. They fade the moment they are tested by skill, patience, and mastery. True strength is quiet, deliberate, and earned through consistent effort. It is visible not in boastfulness, but in calm, measured action. Bruce Lee had shown that with one set of 50 reps, and the impact would last far longer than any video or story could ever capture. As the spectators slowly left the gym, the buzz of conversation changed tone. No longer were people talking about who was stronger, or who could lift more. They were talking about focus, discipline, mastery, and humility. The story would be told again and again, online, offline, in gyms and homes alike, as a reminder that true power is earned, not flaunted. If this story inspired you, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share it with a friend who needs a reminder of the power of discipline and respect. Remember, mastery is not about being the loudest or the biggest. It's about being the best version of yourself every single day. And with that, Bruce Lee's lesson lingered in the hearts and minds of everyone who witnessed it, a timeless reminder that real strength is silent, humble, and unshakable.